Hello and welcome to another lesson of Python programming for beginners. In this lesson, we will understand what is tuple. So tuple is another type of collection such as list. The difference between tuple and the list is written with square brackets, whereas the tuple is written with round brackets. So whenever we define the tuple, make sure you define it with round brackets. And the tuple is ordered, but it is unchangeable. This is unchangeable. That means we will not be able to delete we will not be able to delete or remove elements. We will not be able to add the elements. Okay, that means tuple, once it is created, you cannot change the values, you cannot change the elements. One thing we can do with tuple is that we can delete the tuple. So let's see how we can move ahead, okay, or how we can just define the tuple. So when I say, for an example, I'll say tuple1, I'll just call it tuple1. So here we have to use round brackets. So here is the round bracket. So let's see how we can define it like this. Let's say A, let's take a simple example like that. Okay, so again B, then C, then let's say D, it should be in quotes. Okay, and in the end let's add E. Okay, let me add a few more. Okay, so just to check, let's say F, and let's last one I'll add. Okay, so G. So just few, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so let's like that. So fine, we have added few elements here to the tuple. Let's see how we can print it. So it's, as always, we'll just say tuple. Okay, so tuple1, and it will print it. Okay, so let's execute that, and we'll say, let's call it the Python command, and let's write the file name, that is tuple demo.py. As you can see, it's printing with the round brackets. Okay, so the tuple is always with round brackets, the list is with square brackets. Okay, so just keep those differences in mind and you can rock the world. So let's move ahead. We'll try a few other things. So how we can access the element, since it is ordered, we can access the element with the index numbers. So let's see how we can do that. So let's say or let me write a small comment before that. So let's say access the elements using index number. Okay, so similarly we can write it like this. Let's say if I say tuple1 and square brackets, let's say if I say 3, okay, so it should give me the particular element from index number 3. So let's go and execute that. So here we write the same thing again, and as we can see, the index number 3, that means 8, that means the 4th element. Okay, so as we know that indexing always starts with 0. So 0 is A, then B is 1, C is 2, and D is 3. Then moving ahead, if I want to check the number of elements, okay, so similar to that. So if you want to check the number of elements, okay, number of elements in the tuple, okay, so it's again similar to that what we have used in list. So what we will use is, we will use again a length method, and in length method we will pass the tuple1, so object of tuple. Okay, so we have just simply passed it. Let's execute that to check whether it works. So it's we can see that 7 elements are there. So that's how we can just get the 7 elements here. Then if I want to count the number of elements which we let's say if there are same elements, for that I'll just add a few elements here. So what I'll do is, I'll just add one more element which is there. Let's say if I say A is there, then okay, so I have added A twice now. Okay, so I have just added A again, and let's see if I can check that. Okay, okay, so if I want to check if the this element is, or a particular element is there in the tuple, how many times it is there in the tuple. So this particular code will return the number of times, okay, specific, okay, sorry, yeah, specific element. Okay, okay, so in the tuple, let's call it, yeah, tuple. Okay, so oh sorry, it shouldn't be like that. Return, yeah. So now the thing is simple. What we'll use is, let's print it directly. So we'll say, let's say tuple1 dot, okay, now I'll use a method called count. Okay, and in count I'll have to pass that particular element. So in count method we'll have to pass that element. So if I say A, Okay, so it will print me and it will give the result like how many times the A is repeated. So if I execute this program now, as you can see, the total number of elements are 8 now, and since we have added this extra A here, okay, and if you can see, A is repeated 2 times. A is repeated 2 times. Okay, so that's how we can just get it. Okay, then if I want to check the index number of a particular element, if I, let's say if I don't know that, okay, so similar to that, how we'll use it. Okay, so if you want, let's say return the index number, okay, index number of given element. Okay, so similar to the list, we can use the index method here as well. So I'll use a tuple 1 dot index. Okay, and in index we will pass the element. Okay, so for an example, if I say E, okay, so it will return the index number of E. Okay, so let's run that program. So here we are getting 4. The index number of E is 4. Okay, so that's how it works. Now let's see how we can use for loop, okay, or loop with the tuple. Okay, so let's loop with, let's say, let's call it tuple. So this is again similar to that. Let's say for x in, I'll say tuple 1. Okay, let's open the loop and let's print the x. Okay, so it's exactly same as that of what we have used with the list. Okay, so let's run this program again. So as we can see, all the elements are printed on the next line. Okay, all the elements are printed on every row or every next line. So that's how we can use it. Similarly, let's try check how if we can use if. Okay, so we can use if as well. So if I want to check if item exists, okay, so let's check for that. We're using the if. Let's say if we say let's say I'll call it B this time. Let's say B in tuple 1. Okay, open the, okay, so we'll just open the if and we'll say, let's say, okay, we'll use this small statement. Let's say yes, B is present. Okay, and let's see if we get that output or not. Okay, so let's run that code again. So as we can see, in the end it's printed. Okay, so B is present. Okay, yes, B is present. That's how we can use. Okay, so that's how we can just deal with all the things like a tuple. So it's more of like a list. It's more of like list. Okay, only thing is we use the round bracket. And it's immutable. We cannot delete any elements, so we cannot add any elements. Okay, we cannot remove any elements. Okay, so that's the thing. So whenever we create the tuple, or whenever we define the tuple, just make sure you use the round brackets. Okay, but there's another way to create a tuple. Let's see how we can do that. Okay, so let's say another way to create a tuple. Okay, that's again using, let's say, tuple constructor. Okay, so that's again using tuple constructor. Okay, so let's see how we can use that this time. So let me call it tuple 2 equals to, this time I'll use the tuple constructor. So again we have to use the round brackets here. Okay, and in round brackets we will pass the elements like this. Let's say A, then if I pass let's call it, sorry, yeah, it should be in quotes, then B, then let's say C, then let's say D. Okay, so I'll just keep it like this. Let's keep it short. Okay, and let's say print, and if I print it like this time, let's say tuple 2. Okay, so let's see the output, what we get now. So as you can see, we are getting that in the end. Okay, A, B, C, and D. It's printing A, B, C, and D. Okay, so that's how it is printed. Initially the tuple 1 was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay, now we have A, B, C, and D. Okay, so that's in tuple 2. So that's how we deal with tuple. I hope you understood the things. See you in the next lesson.